Welcome back, everybody. Tonight's story comes from a user who begins, I was in a remote jungle outpost in Nicaragua in the early 1980s during the civil conflict there. There were only 3 of us in the camp, and we were to stay overnight. I was the youngest of the group at 19. The other 2 guys had been in the service for years. We had heard rumors that there was guerrilla movement in the area, and tension was thick. There was nothing to do, so we sat around watching the thick jungle surrounding us. It was hard not to feel uneasy. The 2 older guys joked about how this would be a great place for a horror movie or ghost story, and then they went to sleep. They said goodnight, and I wished them a good night too, although I was certain I wouldn't be sleeping anytime soon. At around midnight, I was sitting by the fire when I started hearing what sounded like whispers in the trees all around us. I tried to make out the words but couldn't. I thought maybe it was just some tricks of my imagination, or perhaps a little bit of paranoia brought on by listening to too many horror movies. I told myself it was probably just animals. But still, I kept hearing these whispers no matter how hard I tried to tune them out. Then the voices began to get louder. And then I heard one single voice say clearly, "Tell our parents we love them." And then another voice said, "You'll be fine." And both voices seemed to come from the tree line on the left side of the camp. I remember thinking, well, now I'm hearing kids' voices. This is absolutely freaky. And then I saw 3 kids. I could only see them for split seconds each time, but I could see them moving through the trees. They didn't seem scared or panicked. They appeared calm and peaceful, but they were covered in blood. I saw one kid point to the left side of the camp where the voices had come from, and he motioned for me to go that way. I do want to know if it was actually 3 kids or if I just saw one kid 3 times. All I know is I saw 3 fleeting images of a kid covered in blood saying to go left. I immediately ran over to where the other 2 soldiers were sleeping and shook them awake, yelling, "We got to get out of here now." They were obviously confused and a little irritated that I woke them up, but they followed me without question. I don't remember if I said anything or if they asked any questions. I just kept yelling, "Let's go, let's go." They started running to the left side of the camp, where I had seen the kids and had heard the voices telling me to go. 2 of them started laughing at me, calling me crazy, but the 3rd guy followed along with me. We ran until we reached an open area of the jungle, and they finally stopped laughing. And then I looked back at the tent where we had been sleeping, and I saw 3 bright white lights bloom in the exact spot where we had been. I assumed these were mortars, didn't want to wait around to find out. We ran away from the camp as fast as we could. Within minutes, the forest was filled with the sounds of explosions, and the shrapnel from the mortar tore into the trees all around us. We ran until we came across a river. We waded into the water and hid between the rocks. The explosion from the mortar echoed through the valley, and the shrapnel from those explosions rained down around us. As far as I could tell, every single piece of shrapnel missed us. Not one piece hit either of us. When the explosions and the screams from the forest finally subsided, we made our way back to the outpost to find the source of the attack. As we walked into the camp, we found 3 unexploded mortars in the exact spot where the 3 of us had been sleeping. If any one of them had exploded, I doubt we would have survived. There was no one else in the area. We were truly alone. None of us had ever seen any of those kids, and after that, we never spoke about it again. Years later, I was able to confirm that a family had been wiped out by a mortar attack just 2 days before we were there. Their bodies were found near our camp, but I never knew that at the time. I sometimes wonder if the kids I saw were the spirits of that family who were trying to warn me and the others. If they did, I hope that they found peace eventually. Yeah, that was definitely terrifying. Glad you got out of there okay, OP. That's really messed up. Our next Reddit story is from a user who begins, "My first deployment was in Iraq. My squad was doing security for an Iraqi police station late at night. Everything was quiet. Suddenly, one of the Iraqi officers came up to me while I was manning my machine gun and said in broken English, 'You need to leave. You are in danger. Come now.' Grabs my hand and starts dragging me toward the door. I think to myself, what the hell? But as I look over and see a RPG embedded in the wall beside my fighting position, I realize he saved my life. It was just above my head, and if it had detonated, it would have killed me instantly. Sure enough, as soon as we got inside, it blew up and showered glass everywhere. Luckily, it was a dud. Still to this day, I have no idea if he was actually trying to warn me, or if it was just some sort of coincidence. But I will always be thankful for his actions that night. Yeah, that one was pretty intense too. Thank you, OP. Appreciate you sharing that with us. And lastly, we have a story from a different user who begins. I was in the army from 2003 to 2012. I did 3 tours in Iraq. My last tour, I was working as an infantryman, and we were doing a foot patrol in a city. We stopped at one of the buildings that we had set up an outpost in, and there was a faint blue light coming from one of the rooms. One of the guys with me said, "Hey, turn that light off." That shit's creepy. As soon as he said that, the lights flicker and shut off. We were the only people in the building. Being an infantryman, in an old building in the middle of a war zone, tends to freak you out a little. So I yelled, "Everybody grab your rifle, and let's get out of here." As soon as we stepped outside, we heard somebody yell, "Boo!" Obviously, being young and stupid, I opened fire on the wall next to me. Nobody was there, and nobody was hurt. But several months after I returned home, I was looking through the pictures that I took on my tour, and there was a picture that I took in that exact room with a face in it. I didn't see it when I took the picture, and I only noticed it when I was going through the pictures on my computer. When I showed the picture to my friends, they could see it too. It was the shadow of a man standing behind a woman and a child who were standing right in front of him. I did several tours in combat zones, and I've seen some pretty messed up stuff, but that was the one thing that freaked me out the most. I wish I still had that picture. It would make a hell of a thumbnail. Holy crap, that one was wild too. Thank you, OP. Appreciate you sharing that with us. Now, all of those stories came from a thread that I linked down below in the description for you guys to check out. If you want more military horror stories from Reddit, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I've been your host. Remember, John shot first?